Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. And I do want to switch gears, and I do want to wrap with a story that, frankly, I probably would have and should have gotten to last week if it weren't for the USC-UCLA news. And obviously, look, once the USC-UCLA stuff happened, I couldn't talk about anything other than that because it was clearly the biggest story in sports. So last Thursday, this would have been a topic that I hit on. Instead, first reaction to the USC-UCLA news, which, by the way, one of the most downloaded shows we've done in a while, so I clearly made the right decision. Today, you know what I already talked about in terms of what's next. And right now, I do want to switch gears to that topic of what I was going to talk about. That topic is the story of Emoni Bates. You all remember him at one point touted to be one of the best high school basketball prospects in the history of high school basketball. Decided to come to college last year at Memphis. It doesn't work out, and he announces about 2 months ago that he is going to transfer. Well, finally, last Wednesday, there was some talk that maybe Louisville was the school, maybe there were some other schools in the mix. But last Wednesday, he finally made his decision. And again, I know this topic is a week old, but I do think it's important. Emoni Bates looking for another college, and he decides to commit to, drumroll please, not Louisville, not any other power conference. He commits to Eastern Michigan University. And to be clear, he is from the area surrounding Eastern Michigan. He played many of his high school games early in his career at Eastern Michigan, and this is being sold as a homecoming of sorts for this kid. I don't believe it to be true. I don't believe that this was the best place for him. I don't believe it's going to work out well. I hope I'm wrong on that. And I do believe that, if anything, I just feel bad for this kid who was so highly touted coming out of high school. And I think there's a lot of layers to this, and we have to discuss it all. First of all, in terms of the player, listen, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I've spent so much time talking about this kid over the last 4 or 5 years. Not 4, but, 2, 3 years. But as a quick reminder of everything that this poor kid has gone through over the last 3, 4 years. Emoni Bates, early in his high school career, like his freshman season, was touted as maybe the best high school basketball prospect since LeBron James. As a sophomore, he won National Player of the Year. He ended up on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and everything was really going pretty well, frankly, until the pandemic. And then the pandemic hits, and I can't speak to what he was doing behind the scenes or whatever, but last summer was the first time anybody had really seen him on a national stage in a while, and it was about this time last year that you really started to hear the whispers. This guy that we were comparing to LeBron James, that we were comparing to Kevin Durant, his style of play when he was 15 years old, he's starting to regress, or other people are starting to catch up. And it was around this point last summer that a lot of people said he's not even the best high school player in his own class. At that point, there's kind of a weird moment in time where, listen, this stuff, and by the way, he's regarded, maybe he's not even the best high school player in his class. That's okay. It happens. There's only one number one ranked player. It all happens. It's all good. But rather than just getting into the gym and getting better, rather than going to maybe a high school or prep school where he would be coached really hard, remember, he played for his father's prep school that was created for him. Instead, the family decides to fast-track everything that's going on and send him to Memphis as a 17-year-old freshman. I talked about it a ton at the time. It made zero sense because Emoni Bates was just 17 years old, meaning he would have to play not only last year of college basketball, but this coming season. So he elects to reclassify to go to Memphis, and to be blunt, it just didn't work out well. Yes, if you look at the stats, he didn't play that poorly, 9.7 points per game, but if you watch the games, he was very inefficient. 38% from the field, 33% from three, 2.5 turnovers per game, and just 23 minutes of play per game. But then if you followed Memphis, it was pretty clear that the team was just significantly better without him. Late January, he ends up leaving the team with what is called a back injury, and that was when Memphis was really struggling. When he played his last game for the University of Memphis prior to returning to the team late in the year, Memphis as a program was reeling. They were 11-8 when he left. They end up getting red hot without him. There were actually some pretty good stats that showed that they were maybe one of the 2 or 3 best teams late in the season. He does come back for the NCAA tournament. They finished 11-3 without him. But he comes back for the NCAA tournament, season ends, whatever. Again, because he had reclassified, because he started last year at 17 years old, he wasn't eligible for the NBA draft and instead decides to enter the transfer portal. And that's really where I want to pick this up. That was kind of the quick everything you need to know. But at that point, I talked a lot about him on this show. And I really talked about what I thought he should do next. And it's just my opinion. Like everything else, I'm not saying I have all the answers. But what I said at the time was it didn't work out at Memphis. You were playing for an iconic former player. It didn't work out. Great coaching staff, great teammates. This is what you need to do. I wouldn't even enter the transfer portal. Instead, I would actually go to the G League Ignite program. Work with professional coaches, work behind the scenes, play with older players, learn how to be a pro, get better, get to the NBA a year from now. A lot of players have chosen that G League Ignite program, and I'll be honest. I don't think those guys are very happy with me that run G League Ignite because I was critical of them during the NBA draft. A few of them decided to chirp at me. But they do a great job of developing players, even if the NBA draft process didn't work out in their favor. They did a great job with Jalen Green. They did a great job with Jonathan Kuminga. They did a great job with Jaden Hardy, who I think is actually going to be a pretty good pro, and I think he fell too far in the NBA draft. So if you're Emoni Bates, my suggestion was always go there, get off the radar. You don't need to be the center of attention. But then if you do come back to college basketball, here's the one thing you can't do. Don't go somewhere where you are 100% the focal point, because you just proved at Memphis you're not anywhere close to being ready for that. And it's not a knock on the kid, and it's not that he's bad, it's not that he's this. But you were at Memphis, you were 17 years old, you weren't ready. Go somewhere, learn how to be part of the team where you're not the focal point. And so early in the process, it seemed as though Louisville was going to be that school. And I said, I think that's a perfect spot. I would still send him to G League Ignite if it was my son. But if he's going to go back to college, go to a place like Louisville. Kenny Payne is coming from the NBA. He knows what it takes to turn high school kids into pros. He did it for 15 years or 10 years at Kentucky and Oregon. Then he's coming from the NBA. He knows what a pro looks like. He knows how a pro eats, how they act, how they sleep, how they handle themselves on the road. Doesn't work out there. There was buzz a little bit about Seton Hall. But the one thing that I just thought never made sense, there was even buzz that he was going to return to Memphis, although I think Penny Hardaway kind of shot that down. The one thing I didn't think he should do, though, again, is go somewhere where you're the focal point, and that is exactly why, bottom line, end of story, I do not like this decision to go to Eastern Michigan. It's his life. It's his parents. His camp is making this decision. I just think this was a really bad spot for him, and let me explain why. First of all, as I just said, he proved at Memphis. He was playing with other good players. Remember, he was playing with Jalen Duren, who was a first-round draft pick. DeAndre Williams, really good college player. Lester Quinones is going to get a summer league shot. I'm trying to go through what's the other kid's name? I'm blanking on the other guy at Memphis. Why am I blanking on his name? It's driving me crazy. But you were around other good players, and you struggled. Landers Nolly was the other player. I don't know why I was thinking of something else. You were around other good players, and you couldn't. You didn't even fit in with good college players. So go somewhere where you're going to get better. Go somewhere where you're going to develop, where the coaching staff is going to, work with you, all that good stuff. And it's not a criticism of Eastern Michigan. But now to go somewhere where everything revolves around you, where you're clearly the best player, I just don't think that's the right move, because you didn't play up to expectation when you weren't the best player. When you weren't double and triple teamed, when you weren't the focal point of every other team's scouting report. So now you're going to go to an Eastern Michigan program that has struggled in recent years, that has largely been sort of, I hate to be rude, but basically irrelevant. And you're going to go there and you're going to be the focal point, and you're going to be the focal point of every team's scouting report. I just don't think it's going to work out well, because it didn't work out well at Memphis when you're playing with other good players. And so he's going to Eastern Michigan, and I think, look, we've seen 2 or 3 examples of this exact situation in college basketball over the last couple of years. Remember, Patrick Baldwin was regarded as one of the top 5 prospects in high school basketball in the 2021 class at one point. Could have gone to Duke. Could have gone to pretty much any program in the country. He chooses last year to go play for his father at Milwaukee. Now, admittedly, there were some injury concerns, but he also just did not play that well in his time at Milwaukee. It did not work out. Now, people say, oh, it worked out because he ended up as a first-round pick. And to a degree, it sort of did. But a couple things. One, I wouldn't say that it totally worked out, because if he had gone to Duke, he probably would have ended up in the top 10. Now he ends up at 28th overall. But beyond that, the difference is he had 1 year where he had some injuries at Milwaukee, and he ended up as a first-round pick. This is now Emoni Bates' second year of college basketball. If this doesn't work out in your second year of college basketball, then it's no longer we're going to project out, we're going to take you as a project, we think we can develop you. It's just you're 2 years into college basketball and you can't perform. And that's that's what Patrick Baldwin went through last year. Emoni Bates, it's going to be accentuated again because it's his second year. And I'm not even factoring in all of the other things that I think just don't make sense about this decision. If it's really about developing into a pro, you're going to a school that plays in the MAC, where they don't have the nutrition that a Power 5, Power 6 school has. They don't have the strength and conditioning that a Power 5, Power 6 school has. They don't travel as a Power 5, Power 6 school has. You're not flying first class. You're not staying in first class hotels. Flying charter, I should say, staying in first class hotels. It's a lot of bus rides. It's a lot of 2, 3, 4 guys to the room. It's not easy. I know mid-major basketball coaches. It is not easy at that level. They don't have the money of an ACC school, of an SEC school, of a Big Ten school. And so now you're putting your career on the line at a place where you don't have very much help, and everything, basically every factor that helps develop you for the next level, strength and conditioning, meals, travel, it's working against you. And so that's why I don't like it. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of McCord Maker. Remember 2 years ago, McCord Maker, he's going to Howard. They're all going to go to HBCUs. It's changing everything forever. I said, I think it's a real bad move. McCord Maker played a couple games, got out of there. But I don't like this move. And what it really says to me more than anything, I'll just be honest, I feel bad for this kid. And let me tell you why. I truly believe that really every step along the way, and I don't think his parents are purposely trying to sabotage his career, but it feels like every step of the way, the adults in his life have let him down. Every step of the way. When there was a time where they could have made the decision with his best interests for his development, it feels like they've made the wrong decision every time. First of all, you go back to his early high school days. When everybody, and this is this might be the ultimate where Aaron was right. When he was getting hyped like he's the next LeBron KD, what did I say on this show? You guys know because I talk about it all the time. I said pump the brakes. First of all, I've seen a million kids get hyped up as the next big thing as a high school freshman, sophomore, even junior. And a lot of times it doesn't work out when you put too much pressure on guys too young. But here was the thing about Emoni. Once he got that label, rather than embracing it, rather than taking on all challengers, his family hid him, okay? I'll give you a quick side story, and then I'll get back to Emoni Bates. I think most people listening to this show know this, but I've known LeVar Ball and the Ball family since Lonzo was a junior in high school, which means that LaMelo was a 8th grader when I met the Ball family, okay? And you can criticize LeVar for a lot of things. I'm sure if you gave him truth serum, he would say he regrets certain things. I don't think he should have taken his son out of high school and sent him all over the world. But the one thing you can never criticize LeVar Ball for, he always put his kids in the most challenging positions possible, and they played up. Even when he pulled him out of high school, what did he do? He sent him overseas and played him against professionals. LaMelo, when he would have been, and I'm talking about LaMelo Ball, obviously. LaMelo, when he would have been a freshman, was playing in Australia against grown men. And so you can criticize LeVar Ball for a lot, but he put his kids in the most challenging positions possible. They had to learn how to overcome adversity. And now you look at LaMelo Ball, he was an all-star at 21 years old. Now let's go back to Emoni Bates, because this was my biggest criticism at the time. How can you call him the best high school player since LeBron or KD or plays like KD when he didn't even play against the best competition in his own high school years? So I said it at the time. He never played Team USA basketball. Team USA has multiple mini camps every year where they bring the best players together all the time. And one thing that he could have done, one thing that all players in high school basketball do, when Team USA calls, you show up, right? When Team USA calls, you show up. And my argument was, if you go there as a sophomore and you're not the best player, it's okay. He's 2 years separated from like Cade Cunningham and all those guys. So if you go, and he was originally, he reclassified. But you go, if it doesn't work out, if Cade Cunningham or BJ Boston or Jalen Green or whoever is better, that's okay. That's how you learn. That's how you get better. They avoided Team USA. In AAU, I kept saying this. I was screaming it from the mountaintops and nobody would listen. He didn't even play at the highest level of AAU until last year when he had to because of his age. There's different levels of AAU. 17s is players going into their senior year. 16s, sophomore year, all that stuff. And at the time, he was playing 16s when he was the biggest, tallest, strongest kid on the court. And so, of course, he's going to look good. He's 6'9", shooting over a 6'3" center. And I said, if he's that good, why is he not playing at the highest level of AAU? Then, again, his dad opens an academy to put him in the best position to succeed. There were stories. You can Google this. It happened. Jaden Akins, a kid who's currently at Michigan State, was at that school. He went after Emoni one day. He said, you're too selfish. You don't pass the ball. You don't do this. You don't do that. You know what happened? They threw the kid out of the school. Jaden Akins, you can Google it. You can Google it. It happened. They threw a kid out of the high school because he had the audacity to step up to Emoni Bates. And so all of these things, they never put him in position to get better, to be challenged, to this, to that. And then again, what did I say to lead this segment? Last summer, it's all falling apart. Last summer was the moment in time where his family should have said, you know what? We've done all we can. I'll use another example. Rob Dillingham, the kid who just committed to Kentucky. I don't know if he's going to be great. I don't know if he's not. But I saw an interview with his dad where his dad said at about 10, 11 years old, I stopped coaching him. I said, I've taken you as far as you can, and you need somebody else to take you the rest of the way. Emoni, it was the exact opposite. Parents are over-involved. Parents are this. Parents are that. And then last year, at the moment in time, go to another high school. Don't go to the high school that your dad built for you. Go to Montverde. Go to Oak Hill. He instead decides to reclassify and go to Memphis. What are you doing? And now you have this moment in time where you can do what you should do. Go to G League Ignite. Go to another power program. Find one. There's probably 50 Power 5, Power 6 schools in college basketball. One of them would have taken you. Instead, you choose Eastern Michigan. And I'll just be honest, I don't think this works out. I don't think he's ready to be the best player by far or the focal point of a team that doesn't have very much talent around him, where he is going to be everybody's going to be, he's going to be the focal point of everybody's scouting report. They're going to send 2-3 guys in him. I just don't think it's going to work out. And now I think his future's on the line. Like I said with Patrick Baldwin, you have one bad year. Well, you have one bad year. Somebody will still draft you. You have 2 bad years. That's a trend that NBA teams don't like. And you talk about Aaron right, Aaron wrong. I hope I'm wrong on this one. But I would venture to guess, if I had to take a guess right now, I would say that I bet it's more likely that this kid next year will be eligible for the NBA draft. I'd say it's more likely he goes undrafted than that he goes in the first round. And this was a kid that people were talking about as a generational. If he could enter the draft right now, he would go number 1 over XYZ. I don't think he's getting drafted next year, and I hope I'm wrong on that.